Nord, the 142-meter warship wearing a tuxedo. What if I told you the most talked-about Northern European flagship of the last few years wasn't designed to be pretty first? It was engineered to be powerful, purposeful, and then dressed in couture. Stay to the end, because I'll reveal the single design decision that explains why Nord feels like a stealth explorer in black tie, and why that one choice justifies an eye-watering ownership cost while quietly lifting her above flashier peers. Nord is a Lurssen-built, 142-meter, steel-hulled, aluminum superstructure superyacht with exterior and interior by Nuvolari Lenard. On paper, she's a numbers monster. In person, she reads like a private resort that can shrug off an ocean. The moment you step on her teak, you clock the attitude. Low vibration, disciplined airflow, doors that close with a hush. The silhouette is unapologetically assertive. Broad bow, muscular sheer, stacked decks that feel more cruiser than cabana. You don't need to like the look to respect the intent. I've toured showboats that were all theater and no Tuesday. Nord is an argument for Tuesday. Origin and intent. Built to move, then to dazzle. She arrived in 2021 as the culmination of a multi-year program once known as Project OPUS. And from day one, the brief was clear. Build a world-range PYC-class flagship that can carry a serious party. Family, security, staff, and toys, without turning the week into logistics. That's why you get 6 proper decks, 2 flight decks, and an interior vocabulary that favors human-scale rooms over cavernous lobby tricks. The exterior language is deliberately polarizing. A bowline that reads more patrol craft than plaything. A stack that hides real function. And terraces that are there to be lived on. Not just posted. The design teams understood something many big builds forget. The luxury isn't the chandelier. It's the absence of friction. Guest crew separation is disciplined. Service routes stay out of your day. And tender ops don't turn the aft terrace into a spectator sport. You feel that competence before you ever see it. Exterior life. Terraces with a mission. Start at water level. The beach club's spine is not a token cave. It's a sea-level living room with tall openings, a wide platform, and staging that flips from sports hub to serene lounge without a production. Mornings begin here. Swim when the sea is glass. Then espresso while the horizon breathes in. I love how the aft pool integrates with the terrace instead of acting like a moat. Rail heights guard you without stealing the line where sky meets water. Wind management is tuned so a long lunch at 12 to 13 knots stays civilized. Napkins behave, voices don't climb. Move a level up, and the geometry keeps paying dividends. Side decks are honest. Full width where you need pass-by space. No pinched corners that punish heels. Furniture sits level underway, and it's furniture you actually use, not sculpture that makes your back negotiate. Forward, the foredeck toggles from arrival court to private terrace, with almost comic ease. Up top, a sun deck with real shade lets you do the one thing most sun decks forget: stay. Then there's Aviation. 2 flight decks give you options. The upper one integrates a hangar within the mast structure so a chopper can disappear between runs. That detail is more than a flex. It's weather discipline, safety, and privacy in one stroke. It's also the tell that this platform wasn't conceived as a pier queen. Interior atmosphere, cinematic calm, Northern European nerve. Step inside, and the temperature drops, visually and literally. The palette is modern without being fragile. Dark, confident exterior cues Give way to warm stones, brushed metals, rich woods, and lighting that flatters faces rather than flattening them. Rooms divide naturally into conversation-sized islands, so a party of 30 becomes 3 parallel plans without anyone feeling exiled. There's a cinema that wraps you in bass instead of shouting at you. A wellness spine that stacks hammam, massage, and beauty, so routines don't collide. A gym with air and glass rather than a leftover corner. The owner's domain behaves like an apartment, private lounge, proper office, dressing that's a decision-free zone, and quiet outdoor space that turns sunrise coffee into a ritual. Guest suites carry the same restraint, scaled to be used, not to impress for 5 minutes. Crew circulation is generous and invisible, which is why service lands as anticipation, not interruption. Key specifications. Numbers you can feel. On the sheet, Nord stretches about 142 meters overall, roughly 465 feet, with a beam around 19.5 meters and a draft a touch over 5 meters. Volume sits in the 10,000-plus gross ton bracket, which is code for corridors that don't traffic jam and rooms that breathe. Under the floorboards, power comes from 4 MTU diesels driving a top end around 20 knots and an easy cruise near 15 knots. Range at displacement pace is what you buy builds like this for. Seasons, not weekends. She's built to passenger yacht code standards with accommodation on the order of 36 guests in approximately 20 suites and a crew in the low 40s. 6 decks, 2 helipads, one with an integrated hangar, an oversized pool, and tenders that run up to the big boy sizes mean the footprint of your day extends far off the transom. Specs are only as interesting as their translation to human time. The extra beam is dinner circulation you don't notice. Gross tonnage is the gap between echoey and why does my voice sound more relaxed? Top speed is a number you'll brag about twice. The noise signature at 2 o'clock is what you'll remember every morning. Performance and ride, Composure is the flex. Run Nord at 12 to 13 knots, and she drops into that low vibration groove where the hotel plant hums and everyone unconsciously inhales deeper. Ask for more pace to beat a weather window, and she gives it without drama. Stabilizers keep stemwear honest at anchor. Weight, waterline, and hull form do the quiet work in quartering seas so the yoga class aft isn't a slapstick routine and the chef's plating survives a squall line. I love speedboats, but at this scale, the real luxury isn't the brochure knot. It's the way the room keeps its inside voice when the horizon gets lumpy. Money talk, replacement logic, running reality, charter context. Let's be adults. Replacement value logic for a modern 142-meter Northern European new build with this pedigree lands in the high 9 figures. The headline you've seen is hundreds of millions of dollars. That number floats with exchange rates, yard slots, materials, and how bespoke you go, but it frames the conversation. The more practical number is the annual envelope. 8 figures when you add up crew, the biggest line item, technical maintenance cycles, insurance, berths, fuel, and seasonal logistics across oceans. That's the check you write to make everything just works. If the calendar ever opens, you'll hear base rates for elite 100-plus meter class yachts quoted in the 7 figures per week before expenses, APA, VAT, where applicable, and logistics on top. You're not buying square footage for the week. You're buying a week where the answer to every reasonable request is yes. Comparisons that clarify the mission. Against pure theater silhouettes that chase dockside headlines, Nord plays the long game. Flow over flash. functionality over furniture cosplay. Against the speed leaners that shave weight until the experience gets brittle, she trades a knot or two for lower noise and a calmer hotel load. Against cubic volume titans, she gives back bragging rights and returns a deck plan that behaves like a private home. If you speak private jet, think of this as choosing lower cabin altitude and better acoustics over the one brochure Mach number you'll mention twice a year. A day that actually flows. Picture this. Dawn. Sea level swim off the beach club while the water still has that mercury smoothness. Espresso on the aft terrace where the breeze is present but polite. A tender hop that feels cinematic because boarding is choreography, not chaos. Late morning workout in a gym with real air and horizon, not a converted storage bay. Lunch under shade with horizon line intact and no fight with the wind. Nap in a suite where the climate works silently. Golden hour lapse while the aft deck pool catches the last light. Chopper in for 2 guests. 5 minutes later, the deck reads like a courtyard again. Dinner at conversation level. Movie where the bass raps instead of shouts. Sleep. Repeat. Sounds simple. You'd be shocked how rare it is at this scale. Who Nord is for? If you collect harbor headlines, there are louder shapes to buy. If you want a week that behaves like a well-staffed private home with the reach of an expedition platform, this is your lane. She's ideal for multi-family cruises, where grandparents actually join every moment because the lifts and stairs make sense. For exec retreats, where 3 real conversations must happen at once. And for design obsessives who care less about a golden statue and more about the way air, light, and noise behave. I live in spec tables, but the builds I respect are the ones that turn numbers into feelings. Nord does that daily. The exterior reads confident without peacocking. The interior is rich without tipping into theme park. The mechanics hum like a well-tuned orchestra. If you've already owned the loud one, this is the yacht you buy when you want the boat to disappear and your life to come forward. Also, minor confession. If you catch me hovering near the hangar watching the helicopter ballet like a kid, no, you didn't. The reveal. The quiet choice that changes everything. You waited for the single decision that explains why Nord feels like a stealth explorer in black tie. Here it is. Function leads form at every level. The designers locked the mission first. Range, aviation, protected decks, crew guest separation, and a hull that behaves, then clothed it. That inversion makes every other choice smarter. The bow that parts weather, the terraces that work underway, the hangar that hides aviation in plain sight, the materials that keep rooms quiet. It's the move you can't photograph, and the one you feel every minute. And it's why those who know boats talk about Nord with a kind of calm respect that doesn't need italics. If this deep dive gave you a better definition of quiet power, tap subscribe so YouTube brings you our next premiere. Want member-only extras, shipyard notes, early cuts, and polls on which flagship we tear down next? Hit join. If this episode saved you research time, or just helped you see past the spec table, drop a super thanks, and I'll shout out the sharpest supporter take on screen next week. Your move. Would you trade a little top-end speed for better nighttime noise and real aviation capability? Tell me why. The best answer, pro or con, gets featured in the next video. Don't stop here. Cue up our quiet luxury verses. Spec Sheet Flex breakdown next. If aviation is your lane, our G700 verses. Global 8,000 episode should already be showing to the right. YouTube knows you. See you there.